Pressure from the street has been building for months in Pakistan. Supporters of the radical Islamist group, the TLP, are enraged at what they see as their government's failure to respond to blasphemous comments last November by the French president. Their main demand has been for Pakistan to expel the French ambassador. An escalation of violence over the last week has led to casualties on both sides, and a crackdown on the TLP by the authorities. But on Tuesday, the government appeared to change its position. After long talks, the government of Pakistan and Tehreek al-Labak have decided that a resolution for the expulsion of the French ambassador will be presented in the National Assembly today. Among the tactics used by the extremist TLP to force the government's hand was a call for a nationwide strike on Monday. Many businesses complied to show solidarity with the protesters and to demonstrate the strength of feeling when it comes to perceived insults to Islam. The protests must be recorded. The world should know that what is happening in the Western world is not right. I think it would be better if this matter is taken up at a higher level. But Pakistan's Prime Minister fears the protests will damage not just the economy, but also international relations. If we expel the French ambassador and cut ties with France, it means we would cut ties with the European Union. Half of our textile exports go to Europe. That means a 50% reduction in those exports, which would mean unemployment and factory closures. Now the government is hoping to strike a balance between the demands of the demonstrators and the need to end the disruption and rioting on the nation's streets.
And for some perspective on this, I'm joined by Pakistan's ambassador to Germany, Dr. Mohammad Faisal. Dr. Faisal, welcome. Is an organization banned under an anti-terror law dictating terms to the Pakistan government?
Regarding this specific incident, the perspective, of course, is very important. The persona of Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Prophet, is very revered, sacred, venerated in Muslims. You are aware of it. And it's been so for centuries. And difficult instances have happened in the past also. In many hundreds of years, it has happened. And in the last 10 years, you must have heard these things happening. So when these incidents happen in a country in Europe, these sentiments were inflamed, not only in Pakistan, but also in Muslims all over the world. The government, of course, also wants good relations with all the countries and wants to move forward in its relations with various countries, without naming any countries. I'll say Europe. Right. The sentiments that were inflamed, of course, some people, some miscreants did try to inflame them and resort to violence. For the government, it became very difficult, and it has tried to resolve the situation, a very difficult situation, through dialogue. We do not want any. Sorry, let me just complete two more sentences.
Yeah, please, yeah.
The effort is to engage and to tell them that we are talking to Europe. We will continue, as my Prime Minister said yesterday. You must have seen that.
But then you talk about the miscreants. The miscreants were basically banned under an anti-terror law, and the government is now going with their demands to Parliament. What does that look like?
Any decision that would be taken would be by the Parliament. Pakistan is a democracy. So the will of the people is reflected in a democracy in the Parliament. As you are well aware, the issue is in the Parliament. I am not there, but I am sure that the parliament will debate it in open space. In media, you will be able to see it, the sentiments and the debate, and a final conclusion will come out of it, which can be anything. And whatever that conclusion is, of course, that will be the will of the people, and we will stand by that. Violence is never supported. It is never an option by the government, by the people. We are very peaceful people. We want to find common ground, and we want to move forward in our relations, not backwards. One additional point, we have millions of Pakistanis living all over Europe. You are aware of that, about 100,000 plus only in Germany. So we have a lot of interests in addition to trade, economy, etc., with Europe. And we would want to build upon that.
Right, but just going back to what is happening in Pakistan, what is the message that the government is sending when it sits down and talks to a group it has outlawed and then agrees to take up their demands?
I cannot go into the details, but it is not as simple as you said. If I follow your line of thinking, maybe you would want us to take 20 tanks and 30 APCs on civilians. That is not, I think, what you would want. That is not what we would want. There are, the only option is dialogue and talks. And we are on dialogue. Whoever has tried to create violence has been nullified. And I sincerely would want that we are able to find solution regarding this within our parliament. And when we engage with Europe, we are able to find common ground and build upon that common ground while respecting a right to free speech, which might have even limitations in Europe. But still, we would want not to harp on the differences, but we would want to harp on the commonalities. And I'm sure there are many, and we have in the past built upon it, and we can do it again. There was an incident in 2007 that was a Danish newspaper. Then we moved forward on that. There were protests and everything. So I think let the parliament speak and let it be discussed there. That will be indicative of the sentiment in Pakistan for our friends abroad, and maybe would be very useful in how to move forward.
Dr. Mohammad Faisal, Pakistan's ambassador to Germany, thank you so much for joining us.
I'm very grateful. Thank you.
My colleague Shahzeb Jilani from DW Asia joins me on the line now for more. Shahzeb, Ambassador Faisal there talking of finding common ground with Europe. Is the concern in Pakistan that Europe is disregarding Muslims' feelings on perceived insults to Prophet Muhammad?
Well, Biresh, the ambassador has a very difficult job. His main role is to protect Pakistan's interest and paint a positive image of Pakistan. Unfortunately, the situation on the ground does not correspond with what he's saying. You only have to look at the images from last few days of protesters going on a rampage, police using excessive force, reports of deaths, policemen being held hostage. And I think actions speak louder than words, no matter what the ambassador says. At the end of the day, Pakistan has witnessed a lot of violence in the last few days. And that's something that is very difficult to reconcile.
Another point the ambassador made was about the spirit of democracy prevailing in Pakistan. But how does that explain the government negotiating with a group it banned under an anti-terrorism law?
So again, I think he's just being a bit economical with the truth because these hardliners, extremist group TLP, they were created a few years ago. They are emerging as a major political force. They do have a lot of following across the country because the issue of blasphemy is an emotive issue in Pakistan. They are capitalizing on it. But there's a strong accusation in Pakistan that this group is promoted, encouraged, financed, protected by Pakistan security services with the aim of fragmenting the society because they want to weaken established political parties who believe in democracy and supremacy of parliament, who are against extremism. And these kind of groups come in handy. Now, the government of Prime Minister Imran Khan has banned this group last week. And then for the government to go into a negotiation, give them that respect as a legitimate partner is puzzling. And that is why a lot of people are saying that this is seen as surrender, as a capitulation, and essentially appeasement.
You talked a bit about the issue of blasphemy. Can you explain that a bit further as to how that plays into the political narrative?
So, Baresh, there are more than 50 Muslim countries around the world, but the issue of blasphemy is the biggest in Pakistan because there are laws against criticizing or ridiculing Quran and the Prophet Muhammad, but it is used to target political opponents. A lot of times people settle personal scores. Christian minorities, Hindus have been targeted, but even Muslims that you don't like, you can accuse them, and essentially the accusation is like a death penalty. And this particular group is thriving on it, and there are other religious groups who want to be even more aggressive on this. So this is pushing Pakistan towards an extremist path, and it doesn't help whatever ambassadors in European countries say. The country's slide towards extremism will make it unattractive for business, for industry, and for democracy.
Shahzeb, briefly, are there any voices that are opposing this religious hardlinism?
So, you talked about the resolution in Parliament, which was tabled today. Again, there is only one political party, Pakistan People's Party, which has not attended the session because they don't want to get involved. They have said to Prime Minister Imran Khan, this is your mess, you have to clean it up. But other political parties, even in opposition, were there in the Parliament, and they want to be a part of it because everybody wants to prove themselves as a good Muslim so they can capitalize on votes because Pakistan is an Islamic country at the end of the day.
Shahzeb Jilani from DW Asia, thank you so much for breaking that down for us.